Hi there, it's Julia here. I want to take you through a very brief exercise related to fear setting. So, this exercise is intended to help you identify, confront, and plan through your fears to give yourself permission to be your very best. So, no matter what you're facing, fear can be paralyzing. And so, when we think about it in terms of changes you want to make or showing up differently, whether it's speaking up in a meeting or making a big decision on a purchase or a direction on a file, it can be scary to think about what that might look like if you haven't done it before, right? And so this is where the fear comes in, and so it coincides with our self doubt and stops us in our tracks sometimes from pursuing our desired path. So the purpose of this exercise is really to remove any of those limiting ideas or limiting beliefs that you might have about your ability to move forward and embrace an attitude of growth. So we are going to identify your fears. We're going to confront them head on, and then we're going to flip the script in this particular exercise on each one so that you can embrace an abundance attitude rather than a fearful perspective. This will be about looking for that opportunity. Okay, so follow along. There is a worksheet that corresponds with this. You should find it in the downloads of this video on the platform. So just follow along. There is room for each of these guiding points. So the first step you're going to take is to create a fear list. So if you want to think of a particular scenario or fears in general, what do you notice holding you back? Write them all down. Okay, list them all that come to mind. Just jot, don't overthink. Just write it down. This is your brain dump. So what we're going to do here is we're going to clear our minds of those stories, clear our minds of those fears, those things that keep talking to us in our brain, and we're going to put them on paper. This is a very powerful exercise. Don't skip this step. Putting them on paper gives your fears a different reality, okay, than when they are in your head. So this will be our first step in moving forward with a conscious mind to really understand what is holding us back. So step number 2, we're going to formulate the fears. So oftentimes our fears are based on our own limiting and very untrue beliefs. Now, a belief is a thought that you think over and over and over again. There's a lot of power in knowing that because if you can change your thinking, you can change your beliefs. And so we have sometimes these limiting beliefs of ourselves, of our abilities to do things that stops us from doing those things. Okay. So these are the beliefs that keep us small and impede us from feeling confident and driven. So now I want you to look at your list and identify up to the 3 fears that are your biggest reoccurring restrictors when it comes to being your best at your work or in life, right? So in the SoftSkillable Leadership Program, leadership is a lifestyle. So regardless of the position you hold, you can acquire and present leadership qualities. That's what we train for. So as you're formulating your fears, as you're looking at them, use if then statements. So if this were to happen, then what? Okay. This will provide some really good analysis and going down that rabbit hole of the deeper sources of your fear. Right. Oftentimes it can be seen very simple, but once you start to analyze it, you see that it is much deeper rooted than we first perhaps think. And so by formulating your fears, you are giving conscious thought as to the drivers of the true sources of our restricted beliefs. And this gives us that opportunity to address them. So, step number 3, flip to abundance. So, time to flip the script to move away from this restricted belief and into abundance thinking. Let's think in a new way about ourselves. Okay, so, choose one of the formulated fears and talk about what you know you can do. Start there, right? And this could include those possible solutions to the problem that you're facing. Okay. So pay attention while you're doing this. Pay attention to how your body feels when you make these statements of abundance. Are you starting to feel the excitement, the hope, the possibilities? Right? So just like we can train our muscles at the gym by lifting heavy weights, our muscles begin to grow. We can also do this with our mind, right? And we can stop overthinking and we can start embracing action. Right? Because nothing happens when we are just thinking about something. It's only through action that we are able to accomplish our goals. So it's important to be able to empower ourselves to take that step. And so if fear is holding us back, we need to address that fear. Okay? So that's the first exercise. Exercise number 2 is an opportunity to minimize the problem. So this is where we're going to go into really the worst case scenario for all of these things. How would it play out? Use your imagination. And so have you ever had if you've ever had a worry or a fear pop up when you're pursuing something new, right? It's this fear of the unknown, right? The wave of emotion can be overwhelming and make the work that much harder. Because now you're having to push through this barrier that our bodies have placed on us or that we've placed on us based on our limited beliefs. So with some advanced planning, you can learn to control the wave of emotions and move forward peacefully and confidently. So, this particular exercise facilitates the identification of the facts, like real worries and possible consequences, and it allows you to be objective and detached about your fears. So, that's why in the first exercise, we jotted down what all the fears were. That's a way of detaching them. So, they're no longer personal, they are a fact in the part of the problem that you're trying to solve, right? It's just another piece of information. And so, if you're willing to devote your time to securing those facts in an impartial, objective way, once they're out, you can look at them objectively. Your worries will usually evaporate in the light of knowledge. Okay, so this is the power that we have. Being able to detach from our emotions gives us that power to be able to do that. So, in your second worksheet, also available to download in the portal, follow along because I'm going to walk you through the steps here. Okay? So, step 1 is to analyze the problem. So let's look at our problem with some detachment. So let's get the story out of our head and put it onto paper. And this gives us the opportunity to analyze our problem fearlessly and honestly. So write down what worries you. Ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Right? Really get creative here. Get imaginative. All the things that you're fearing and are worried about, write them down. Let's um, let's get, again, I can't emphasize this enough. Get the story out of your head. Let's get it onto paper so we start looking at it more objectively. Once we stop resisting the scenarios, that's when we can start to relax and focus on solutions and options. So we are unable to think clearly about solutions when we are focused on fear, right? This is the rumination. This is the, oh my goodness, what if the world's going to end, all the things. And it's emotion fueling it and not logic, right? So we want to flip that. We want to remove the emotion so we can start thinking about it logically because you are smart, you are intelligent, you have the capacity to really think this through. But like all humans, we have emotions. And so we need to understand what information that they're giving us, but not let them lead us when it doesn't serve our purpose. Okay. So what so you are in now the worst case scenario you described in question 1. Okay. Super imaginative. Imagine yourself. Now you're in the middle of it. So now what are you going to do about it? Really think about your answer. You're here now. Okay. You've created the scenario. What would you do? Okay. Jot down your answers. So, step number 3. So, now that you've taken some time to really figure out how you can improve upon your worst possible outcome, let's focus on the future. Okay. So, toss out all the what ifs, the blame, all the shame. How can you minimize those consequences? So, all of the things that you thought of, right? You've done your due diligence, you've thought of all of the worst case scenarios. How would you minimize that? Right? Write that down. This is your plan. This is your future plan. Because there's nothing that says that any of these things will happen. But if they do, now you're prepared for it. Right? So now you can move forward confidently. And that's the purpose of this exercise. And the beauty of these exercises is you get to rinse and repeat, right? They can be used over and over again for many different aspects of your life, right? So not just work related, life related, right? Home life, anything that you feel is holding you back. This exercise helps you move through that, right? And none of this is talking about suppressing your emotions. We absolutely teach in our program and believe that our emotions give us information. It's a more of a question of where do they fit in our life and where do they fit in the actions that we need to take to move forward to reach our goals. Okay? So if you're dreaming of something big, confronting your fears will help remove your barriers to action and do so with that confidence and that peace. And by detaching yourselves from the fear, so it's no longer a personal thing, you're able to get it out and rationalize it a little bit better. You can start to think objectively about the scenario and determine the best possible solutions. So I hope you've enjoyed this. This comes from Lewis's Howes book, The Greatness Mindset: Unlock the Power of Your Mind and Live Your Best Life Today. I've thoroughly enjoyed the book and I highly recommend you get a copy of it if this is an area that you really want to grow in. Lewis really provides a really good sort of foundation and just structure of mindset and how you can make it work for you for the life that you want to build. Right. So hope you enjoy this. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to support you.